I am Dan Costa, Editorial Director at Worth Media, and we are here today at the Lake Nona Impact Forum. And I'm joined by Dr. Todd Ellis, a principal at KPMG Healthcare. Todd, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
No problem at all. Looking forward to it.
So this is your first time at Lake Nona, but you've gotten to have a couple of meetings, meet a couple of people.
Yes.
What is it that makes Lake Nona Impact Forum different than other healthcare conferences?
Well, I think when you look at the magnitude of the event, but also the speakers, and that it's global mind share. But more importantly, it's about leaving egos at the door and doing good for all humanity. And I think that's what's unique about it. Not only the sessions, but the takeaways from the sessions, the relationships that you build, but more importantly, in my mindset, doing the right thing, again, without the egos. That's what's special about the Lake Nona Impact.
What is it that lets people leave their egos behind compared to other conferences? Is it the location? Is it the weather? I mean, it's we're sitting here in the middle of March. It's freezing up in New York. Down here, the weather is lovely. I mean, what is it that allows that level of openness?
Well, I think Orlando is very unique in itself. And I think the Lake House facility is very unique in itself, in that Lake Nona is a healthcare community. It's about innovation. It's about doing the right thing globally. I keep saying that. And I think when you have a conference in that environment, you just tend to leave. Again, the ego's out the door, but let's collaborate, right? Let's have cognitive diversity, which is so important, especially when you're talking about health equity and doing the right thing by underrepresented populations. It's the right thing to do, and the timing is right. I don't think there's been any other time in the history where we have the opportunity to bring cognitive diversity together to drive global change. That's what's unique about Lake House. I think that's what's unique about we as KPMG wanting to host this, because it's about the greater good. It's not all about the ROI. It's about the greater good, and that's what we're promoting here.
So we're doing this interview. The conference is just starting to get started, but you've had a number of meetings. You've met a number of speakers.
Yeah.
Tell me, what have you learned so far that you didn't think you would know coming in?
What I'm learning from, and again, we just started. In less than 3 hours, I've met with global leaders. And we like to think sometimes that some of the issues that we have in the United States are within the boundaries of the US. Some of the issues that we're dealing with, they're global. Health equity is an issue on a global scale. This morning I had the honor and privilege to meet with Zamba Mandela, the grandson of Nelson Mandela. And he's going to be speaking tomorrow. And he talked about the next level of health equity and the importance of genomics, understanding the human genome in different ethnicities to drive health equity to a level like we've never seen before. And that was just this morning. So I'm so excited. I got another 2 days here. At the end of 2 days, I think everybody's going to be so recharged and have so much energy that we will move the needle. I guarantee you, we will move the needle.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating perspective, because we talk a lot about health equity just here in the United States.
We do.
Who's got health coverage? Who has access to the latest technologies?
Yes.
The U.S. has one of the most sophisticated and powerful healthcare systems in the world. We maybe don't have the best level of equity and distribution and access that we should.
Yeah.
But this is really a place to talk about that, hash out some of those issues, and then expand that conversation to a global one.
Yeah, and I think, COVID-19, there was good and bad with COVID. I think what COVID has showed us is that technology is here, innovation is here, and it can change the dynamic in healthcare. It can change health inequities. But also what we're seeing now is a uptick in startups around health equity and innovations. And that's so exciting because, again, that's the expectation. So I'm super excited about where we are now, but where we're headed, and all of the players who want to come to the table now from a technology perspective. So I'm super excited.
One of the things I've talked to a number of healthcare professionals that they've worried about, they talk about the COVID response, and during the pandemic, regulations are basically thrown out the window. Delivering healthcare was the most important thing, however you get it done.
Yeah.
And now that the pandemic is ebbing, they're worried that we're going to go back to an age where you can't get a prescription over a video call, and that you can't get medical advice over Zoom. How is that shaking up? Do you see that as a problem?
Right now, I don't, because that's the expectation of the consumer. One thing that we cannot forget, consumers drive healthcare. Sometimes we like to think that it's the health systems, it's the payers, but you cannot forget the consumer and what their needs are and what they're going to demand. Because what's unique about the United States, consumers have a choice. Consumers have the choice. So you talk about patient access. Just because you have good patient access, you got to think, is it the right access, right? And if I'm a consumer and I feel like the access that I have is not meeting my unique needs, I have a choice. And consumers will drive the market. And I think there is no going back when it comes to innovation and technology and how consumers actually use it for their unique needs. Their unique needs.
So one of the technologies that's driving telehealth, of course, is 5G. And we think of telehealth, it's really just doctors connecting with patients over video calls. But 5G has a lot more power than that. It's going to have a lot more impact.
It is.
Can you talk a little bit about how you see that, just that greater level of connectivity shaping the healthcare industry?
Yeah. 5G, and I'm just going to say broadband access. I like to think of that as the foundation for everything we do going forward. When you think about hospitals and the devices that are in a hospital, even the hospitals of the future, the common factor behind all of those devices is broadband. You got to have it. We're in an interesting time right now in healthcare where we know that not all populations even have access to the internet or broadband. You would like to think we're beyond that, but we're not. We got to get to a point where that broadband coverage can be used for everybody, right? Because again, that's about changing and moving the needle. So there's no going back. Broadband is here, 5G is here. We got to have it. We're going to depend on it, but we got to make sure that that type of broadband is available to everyone, because we're talking about all communities and not just certain communities, right, who can afford to have that. So that's important. 5G is here. It's doing amazing things, and it will continue to do amazing things, but we got to get to a point where it's doing amazing things for all populations, and we're on that path.
So one of the things about Lake Nona is they think of it as a living lab, a healthcare-centered community. And the innovations that we've been talking about, that I've been writing about, are actually, here, available and being practiced. What innovations are you looking forward to see either on stage or in the halls around the conference?
I'm glad you brought that up. At most conferences, you may have people speaking about technologies, but you can't touch it, you can't see it, you can't feel it. What's unique about this conference is you can actually see it. You can understand how 5G and broadband is going to transform healthcare. It's going to transform the way I interact with the healthcare system. But you can see it and touch it. You can actually go in, we have it set up here, the home of the future when it comes to healthcare and the type of devices that will be placed in homes. I mean, this is here and now. This is not the future, this is here and now. So I like to say all of the pieces of the puzzle, they're out there, but what this conference is about is putting that puzzle together, showing that when we collaborate, when we leave the egos at the door, and we just focus in on the puzzle and putting those pieces together, people, process, technology, and data, boundless. We can do anything. No boundaries. It is boundless.
Fantastic. Well, Todd Ellis, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We'll be able to cover this more on worth.com. You can follow after the conference is over. We'll have a ton of editorial up on the site.
Yep.
Thanks so much for joining us.
No, thanks. It's been a pleasure.
I'm Dan Costa with Worth Media. Stay tuned.